Well, sadly, it seems that it's just about an everyday occurrence now that we lose someone from the world of classic rock. And for many people, this one was a giant. Kiss lead guitarist Ace Frehley, dead at the age of 74. And so, as I often do when these events occur, I just wanted to come on and say a few words in tribute to a giant in the history of hard rock. Now, first of all, in full disclosure, I gotta say, I was not really a huge Kiss fan growing up. I was much more of a Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, Van Halen kind of guy. But there's no denying the first time I saw Ace, and particularly those amazing shots with his smoking Les Paul, I thought it was pretty darn cool. And to be honest, I think that's what Kiss was always all about. It was never about virtuosity, although Ace and the others were certainly competent musicians, but it was about the spectacle, the makeup, the regalia, the pyrotechnics. And I think people tend to forget how shocking that makeup was back in the early to mid 70s. As a kid, I used to subscribe to Guitar Player magazine, and one month they came out with their big Kiss issue. They put Ace on the cover, probably because he was the coolest looking one, but they also had interviews with rhythm guitarist Paul Stanley and bassist Gene Simmons in the same issue. And the following month, there was an expanded letters to the editor section where people were going off in outrage saying, "Cancel my subscription. How can you degrade your magazine by featuring these four hucksters?" And again, not being a huge fan, I still enjoyed reading those interviews, and Ace came off as the most rock and roll of the bunch. I love the story about when he first auditioned for the band, and he was this weird-looking guy who showed up with mismatched sneakers, and the others didn't know what to think, but he impressed them with his attitude and his playing. And in the interview, some of the comments that he made still stick with me after all these years. I remember the interviewer asking him about his guitar tone and his equipment and his effects. And he said, "You know, I've tried every sound, but for me, you take a 100-watt Marshall head and put every knob on 5. Sounds pretty cool." And I think that sort of no BS attitude is really what endeared him to so many Kiss fans. As far as I can tell, the majority of Kiss fans seem to think of Ace as the coolest guy in the band. Gene comes across as more of a calculating businessman, just out to make a quick buck. Paul Stanley, great singer, but maybe kind of a prima donna. But Ace, and to a lesser extent maybe drummer Peter Criss, come off as the regular guys. I think my favorite Ace moment, which really highlighted his role in the band and the fun that he brought to it, was the infamous Tom Schneider interview from 1979. He showed up hammered and was giggling his ass off. Meanwhile, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley were glowering at him like angry parents. It was so funny. I think that's one of the non-musical things he will be most remembered for.
But you're kind of like a spaceman, huh?
No, actually, I'm a plumber. On the side. Look.
Well, listen, I got a little piece of pipe backstage I'd like to have you work on.
Tell me about it. Oh, you love it, but I like that.
You old sweet talker, you. But I'll tell you, I read on the sheet that they gave me where they said that it's hard to get you out of your shell.
It's hard for me to talk.
In terms of musical influence, you could make a very strong case that few rock guitarists have inspired more kids to pick up a guitar and learn to play than Ace Frehley. So many legends cite him as one of their main influences. People like Slash from Guns N' Roses, John Five, Dimebag Darrell from Pantera, to name just a few. My God, Dimebag idolized Ace so much that he literally had his face tattooed on his chest. His guitar playing wasn't groundbreaking, but it had tons of attitude, a lot of classic bluesy pentatonic licks, but so catchy. Honestly, I think that simplicity was a huge part of the appeal. Unlike listening to Eddie Van Halen or Steve Vai, where you throw up your hands and say, I could never do that, with Ace, I think kids got the feeling that maybe if they practiced a lot, they could be up there doing it too, and I think that's really significant. So those are my thoughts on Ace Frehley. 74 years old is way too young in this day and age. But then again, he really was rock and roll personified. I think he lived pretty hard. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Any Kiss fans out there? I would love to get the discussion going as usual. Thanks for watching and see you next time.